Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
Then it is Hump Day in the Riv.
Happy
And,
May Day.
oh, yeah, all the commies are happy today. This is their 4th of July. We got a lot of them in the country, too. So
Yep.
we can see what's going on here. And it's a travesty. But it kind of segues into, I guess we should start with Paul the Prevaricator being on the radio again, already starting the propaganda for the 2.5 override. We can't. We have to have this. What do you mean you? Who's you and we? You? What are you in a turd in your pocket? I don't need a 2.5 override. You need to control your spending. Because listen, they're going to start telling you, just like Biden keeps telling you the economy's good. Even though 26% of the people who are working today, excuse me, that's the new stat. 26%, that's 1/4 of the people who are working today cannot pay their bills, even with their paychecks. And 60% of them are living paycheck to paycheck. So let's get this straight. Paul's telling you he needs more of your money. But has he stopped spending the money? No. And the city council. The reason we need a 2.5 override is because of Paul Coogan and the city council and the school committee. I'm not going to pay for them. I'm voting no. And I'm also going to tell him don't cut public safety. But if he does, recall them all. Paul says there's no way to cut. How about the 3 new supervisors you put in your reorganization at $100,000 a year instead of one guy was doing the job, so you made it 4? How about the 6 assistant superintendent of schools? How about the 68 people you put on a school department? How about the 40-some people you put on a city site? How about the 400 jobs? All the pay raises you've given out. We see the governor of this state talking about next year giving furloughs. Not layoffs, furloughs. But the first thing you're going to do is threaten the taxpayer. You're going to burn. You're going to have crime. Well, we already got crime. And if they burn, I'm telling you right now, give me a call. I'll give you a lawyer. Sue the city. There have been lawsuits filed against communities that do not provide adequate public safety, and they have been won. Their propaganda is it's we have to bail them out. But nobody has any accountability for how we got here. How did we get here? 2 years ago, he just took the damn budget right out of the city council's hands and did what he wanted. Then last year, the 8 bobbleheads, with the exclusion of the only one who ever thinks about the people, Michelle Dion, they didn't even want to discuss funding. Oh, funding, screw that. We don't care if we don't have enough money to pay all these contracts. We don't care that we're giving pay raises we can't afford. We're going to lay off firefighters. But we're going to put them on the ambulance as chauffeurs. We got to lay off firefighters, but we just renegotiated another contract with them. Albeit it was a small raise, but they still got a raise. Did you say I'm going to put in a hiring freeze? No. You say we're gonna put a cap, no more pay raises until we get this city back on its feet financially? CFO talked about concessions at the meeting. I have them in the minutes of the meeting. I've read it to you. we're going to be looking for concessions. What concessions have they looked for? Remember when Carrere cut salaries, and some of them chose to do it, and the firefighters chose not to, so they took the layoffs. Most of those people didn't come back. Nobody wants to go. Everybody wants to get out of Fall River, even the firefighters. They get a job in Brookline or Newton, they're going to stay there. They don't have to go through this shit every year, every other year, have their jobs in jeopardy because of financial mismanagement. Let's start organizing. Go out, call your counselors, call your school committee people, tell them, we're not going to vote for this because you people created this. You fix it. Stop picking our pockets. Let's place the blame again. Paul Coogan is a liar. He's lied since he got in office. I'm going to give you a tax break. That never happened. He's hidden everything behind the curtain. You don't know anything. Never a word about a plan for crime. The school system is it's getting bigger and bigger and more expensive. 6 assistant superintendents of the school. We want a deputy superintendent. We got 4 people doing a job of 1. And CJ read the statistics at the last show. We're going down more. We're 336th in one, and we're 268th in another, and we used to be 200 and whatever. But
and they all resulted in lower. They all resulted in lower scores.
Yeah, it's a travesty. These people are getting big money to do nothing. There's no accountability at all. And who pays for it? We do. They're telling you, he's on there whining already, setting up the propaganda machine on We Suck at Radio. And the Herald News will be printing articles. There's going to be a fire. There cuts and plate pump. Well, you know something? I'll tell you. If I can't afford to put a roof on, I got to figure out a way to put it if I really have to. I'm going to have to go without eating. I'm going to have to drive less. I'm not going to buy a new car or any car. We all have to make sacrifices, but the government never does. So let's put the blame squarely where it belongs. On the mayor of this city who blew over $80 million in opera money and gave out massive pay raises throughout his entire administration. Had reorganizations that didn't tighten our belt, it expanded our belt. What we need is the maximum dose of Wegovy and Zybald. And if you don't know what those are the weight loss drugs. We got to start giving this city injections of Wegovy and Zybald. And you know how we give them those injections? Just say no. No to Diman. You didn't even put it on a ballot, you assholes. You didn't even give us the opportunity to speak. Council, mayor, now we gotta pay? That's not government. That's dictatorship. So let's start organizing. Call all your friends. Talk to all your neighbors and tell them, listen, nobody wants to see cuts in public safety, and that should be the last place, but that's the threat they always make first. And if they got to do it, you got to say, well, if that's what you got to do, that's what you got to do, because we just can't afford it anymore. And we're sick and tired of it, and it's not our fault that we're in this position. It's your fault. I'm sick and tired of everybody from the top of the food chain that we got mini Joe Biden here. Joe Biden's telling you the economy is wonderful, but it's not. 2/3 of the people in the country are living paycheck to paycheck. 26% can't even pay their bills with their paycheck. They're going at the credit card debt up to their kazoo. Their credit card debt. People are defaulted on their credit cards. People are going bankrupt, and now they're gonna raise your water rates. They're gonna excise tax. You figure it out. Now he's gonna come back after he didn't even give us the opportunity to vote on this. The council and the mayor gave us the middle finger. Now they want to pick your pockets. So as far as I'm concerned, somebody start organizing. Just say no. Tighten your belt. Take some Wegovy, Paulie. Take some Wegovy. And with that, back to you.
You know, the propaganda is starting with this because I received a lot of phone calls yesterday, throughout the day about, we need to, if we vote no for this money, Diamond won't be built. Diamond is already being built. Don't buy the bull. Don't buy the crap. Don't buy the lies. Diamond is being built one way or the other, and it's already being built. The city council did not allow the people of Fall River to vote on whether or not they wanted a new Diamond. Had they voted to give the people a vote and the voters said no, then it would have had to go into a full ballot of all 4 communities. And then majority would have ruled. That this question that he's proposing has nothing to do with the construction of Diamond. He's a liar. Diamond's already in the process of being built. This has to do with the fact that the mayor can't meet his budgetary requirements or his budgetary needs. This is where the problem happens. He constantly spends money. He threatens to cut police and fire, and more like fire. Yet, he doesn't cut anything out of his administration. He doesn't cut any of the people that he hired recently. There was an old rule. Last hired, first fired. That was the old rule. Okay? And that was a good rule. People knew where they stood. They knew. If they were just hired and they were talking about layoffs, guess what? They say, well, maybe I'm going to lose my job to a layoff. But the people need to know this is a lie. Everything that this man says is a lie. Everything. I spoke to a union representative the other day, and I said that Bridget had said at a retirement board meeting that the city was seeking concessions from the collective bargaining units. You know what I was told by this union person? We've never been approached. Never been approached. So if we've never been approached, how can you say that you're seeking concessions? If you're not seeking concessions, you're not seeking them. But don't go on the radio, Mr. Dictator, and say that there's going to be police and fire cuts because I need this money. No, you need that money because you overspent. You hired too many people. You gave them huge pay raises. Go back to those people you gave the huge pay raises and say, look, we're in a financial bind. I've got to take that pay raise away from you. You want to see people throw a fit? You should have never given it in the first place. 15% here, 16% there, 12% here. These aren't small pay raises. $19,000 for somebody who's working as a mechanic to outside people. Outside people. And making money on the city dime. And instead of firing this person, You promote him. Make him a department head. Give him nobody to supervise and give him a $19,000 pay raise. Oh, boy. I wish I had that job. I wish I had that job. As I'm
So
telling you
true.
now, this is what's happening.
So
And it's going to
true.
get worse. It's going to get
Hitler
worse.
ribbon cutting. Yeah, there you go. Hitler ribbon cutting. But listen, like you said, everything he says is a lie.
Yeah.
Look, they talk about I need the money. Well, we need the money. You've done nothing to do anything to control spending here. We got the worst possible person to be a mayor. We got a political tick who got good high paying jobs his whole life because of whose ass he kissed. Because he had political connections. And he got in, he's pulling a Biden. Biden won't intercede on the terrorists that had taken over the country because he's worried about winning Michigan. And he's going to give those people who were saying gas the Jews, he's going to give them their tuition. We're going to pay for their tuition. This is Coogan. Coogan's a mini Biden. Why did he give all these pay raises out? This is the only way they know how to get the vote. Buy it. Don't win it because you can run something properly. That's right, Jeff. But this is the problem. They gave all these contracts out. They made all these jobs so they can get elected and hope that the regular people don't get pissed off enough to come out and vote. You won with 14,000 people showing up out of 55,000. Nearly 50,000 people didn't show up to vote. Okay, 40-some thousand didn't show up to vote. Shame on them. But this is what you get. But don't give me that crap. I need it? Of course you need it. And when you get that, you're going to need more. In spite of the fact your CFO said we can't borrow any money till 33. You know what that means? We're going to keep robbing your money till 33. And if you can't afford your house, tough luck. And as David Meade said earlier, he went down there to threaten the homeless people. They don't want to see the homeless people. This state just put $400 million toward illegal housing, and our entire delegation voted against prioritizing housing for homeless veterans. Two of those scumbags are veterans. And then the next day, the audacity, the temerity, the unmitigated gall of Alan Sylvia getting on a radio and talking about a veterans kitchen. After you just said to your fellow veterans, screw you, stay in the street. Stay in the street, bums. What did you do for your country? You just put on a uniform for it and wrote a check cashable up to your life. But no, I want to give money to people whose first act was to violate the law of this country and come in here illegally. We're going to give them $400 million and you can live in squalor. And you call yourself a veteran? You call yourself a representative of the people? You're representing people who aren't even citizens. That oath you took, all you did was mouth the words. You are disgusting. And if you want to discuss it next time you see me, don't run away. Because I'll look you right in the eye and Schmidt in the eye and tell you that. I want to see what you got to say. Man up. You want to take my... You want to screw veterans? Go up there and forget where you came from? You know, I don't even blame those bums. You know who I blame? The 40,000 people who stayed on their ass in their houses. This is why every day I hope that I hit the mega buck so I can get the hell out of this state. Because that's why 1,100 people a month are leaving this state. Nobody wants to live in these places anymore. Only the people who have to. Because the problem is they've screwed this country up so bad you can't move. You sell your house? Oh yeah, I'm gonna get a lot more money than I paid for my house. But then where are you gonna move? Because you move to another state. You're still in the same hole because now the houses have tripled. So you're stuck if you're on a fixed income or if you're on a medium income. People can't afford housing throughout the country. And over here it's even worse. But these people, and if you think they've pissed me off, if you haven't figured that out on this show, they really piss me off. But they went down to the wall. To do what? To look at the men, 58,000 plus names of men who died wearing a uniform in this country. And then you have the freaking audacity to vote against housing for them. You are two absolute scumbags. With that, CJ, back to you.
There's no excuse. There's no excuse at all. And for him, meaning Alan, to meet with the people from the Veterans Kitchen, and the Veterans Kitchen didn't say anything about it. They did not say a word about it. So what support are they giving to the veterans besides a meal? Once a week. Or twice a week. How often are they going to stand there and say, well, we got to give food to these guys because they're homeless? No, they didn't say anything to Alan. Why? They didn't ask the question, why did you vote against homeless priorities for veterans? Why didn't you say something? Why didn't you stand up for the veterans? That's what I would have done. Carol Fiola gave money, an earmark out of the state budget for the Veterans Kitchen, but votes against prioritizing veteran housing. Do you see the two faces on these people? Do you see the two faces on your elected politicians? And it doesn't just stop at the state level. It starts at the local level. Do you realize yesterday they had the executive director of Housing and Livable Communities at UMass Dartmouth? Big secret, I guess, because a lot of people didn't hear about it. Talking about the housing issues in the South Coast. Nobody brought up that there's not any affordable housing being constructed. Nobody brought up the fact that the HDIP program is benefiting people who are making market rate housing. Nobody brought up the fact that to get an HDIP tax break, you've got to get a local tax break. Nobody brought up those things. The HDIP program should have been created specifically and only for affordable units. That's what should have happened. And what was the worst part about it was they couldn't decide what an affordable unit was in this meeting. They couldn't decide. People, advocates for affordable units, were saying, even affordable units that you're talking about are not affordable by people. And they're required to have a housing plan every 5 years. And HDIP doesn't cut the housing plan. Affordable housing means affordable. It doesn't mean $1,100, $1,500, $1,800 for a 1-bedroom. Doesn't mean that. But according to Paul, by getting market rate housing, we're going to bring the people down from Boston. They're going to want to move here in droves, even though we have a school system that's failing. And the worst part about it is the retiring school superintendent admitting on the radio that the school system needs improvement, and says improvement's not going to happen overnight. It takes time. Matt Malone said the same thing. His predecessor said the same thing.
Yeah, but they never stop getting pay raises, do they?
No, they don't.
They never stop getting pay raises. And let me just say this about that. I just saw something and they showed the Central Falls affordable using, and it was really something to see. They have units that start at $750. That's affordable. And
right.
They said that they have things that go all through the gamut based on your income. It's based on your income. So, but see, like workforce has income. It has a minimum income, which means that people who really truly need affordable housing don't get it. And you know, this is bullshit. You talk about the kitchen getting an earmark. Why did they get an earmark? Because they kiss political ass. The ones who don't kiss political ass, you see, this system is upside down. The people forget that they kiss your ass at election time, and then they stick it up your ass after they get elected. See, it's supposed to be the other way around. They're supposed to kiss your ass full time, because you're the people that give them those jobs. They swear an oath to be your agent, your substitute, your representative, not the money people. And you talk about that thing, and people are getting fed up, except in Fall River, where they listen to the propaganda. I don't know what the hell's going on in this city. All around us, people are smartening up. I think it was East Providence. A councilor got up and said, I'm sick and tired of the rich developers getting all the breaks. We're killing the people. They get all the tax breaks. Wow. I don't know. How long have we been saying that on Spindle City? I don't know, 13, 14 years. I don't know. Yeah, the superintendent who retired said, well, it does need improvement, but it's going to take time. Well, when she took over, it needed improvement. And it still needs improvement. She didn't say, well, it's doing better than when I took it over, so we're moving forward. No, she said, oh, it needs improvement because it's worse.
Exactly.
We keep getting more money. We keep giving them more money, and it keeps getting worse. So this is what you pay for. And where's your school committee? Doing just what the council does, nodding their heads like hop seals. You know, I mean, I've really had it with this one. If they don't vote down this 2.5, I think I'm just gonna, you know, you just got to throw in a towel for this city, because the people, if they don't organize over this, we see the country falling down around our ears. We got these entitled imbeciles that don't even know what they're talking about, being radicalized by outside sources to yell gas to Jews, death to Israel, death to America, pulling down the American flag, putting up the Iranian flag and the Palestinian flags and cheering. Well, let them send them over there. You like it so much, go. I don't care. But this is treason. It's treasonous what they're doing. And who's funding it? George Soros? and other rich billionaires, why are they doing this? You ever think of that? Why would a billionaire be paying people to go crazy in our streets? Well, there's an election coming up. The last election, it was Antifa. Now they're going to use this one to divert everybody's attention away from this and make this country look like exactly what it is now, a third world country. But those billionaires want to keep it that way because you know what their dream is? Globalism. They don't want an America. They want to have a global economy because that's the world they live in. They want to be able to control the whole world. And America is what they hate the most. It's a capitalistic society where people have a right to compete and make money. They want to control it. They only want two classes of people, rich and poor. They never made any bones about that from the 1800s. And I read you that passage that said, we don't care who's in the, we don't care who's in the White House. We elected a Republican governor in California and on the West Coast and a Democratic governor on the East Coast, and we own all the congressmen and politicians. We are the rich, and we own this country, and we're never going to give up control. And they never have. Because all the richy riches from the 1800s, the families are still around. And you got Soros, a Hungarian, pumping billions of dollars in, buying them tents, providing them signs. Those aren't handwritten signs. They have professional agitators there telling these morons what to say. They have nothing to say. It's just they have no ability to debate the subject. Oh, well, yeah, well, from the river to the what river? I don't know. What sea? I don't know. October said that didn't happen. Well, 9/11 didn't happen either. Oh, that's a false narrative. Oh, it is? It's okay for us to break down buildings because that we're entitled to do that. But then, by the way, pay my college tuition and make sure I get a job in your company, and we'll keep the rest of the people poor. This is what it's all about, people. You got a bunch of socialists and communists, and before I go, I got to get this in, because those yo-yos who are chanting this about kill the Jews, just remember, it's not gonna be just the Jews that they kill, because this is I always read this thing to remind everybody. Martin Niemöller, a Lutheran minister during the Holocaust. First they came for the communists, and I did not speak out because I was not a communist. These people are communists. Those morons don't even know when they get done with the Jews, they're coming for them. Then the next bunch of these are half of these too. Then they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Well, they're going to come for you, socialist assholes. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, he was a Lutheran, and there was no one left to speak. They also went for the Catholics too, but now they're going in reverse order from World War II. They're starting with the Jews. And half of these morons that are out there yelling don't realize they're the next ones in the gas chamber. Because the people that are giving them the money only want Muslims to inhabit this planet. And with that, CJ, back to
you. I hate to sound preachy, but this is something that's interesting. And it just came to me. Luke 21:20. But when you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, then know that its desolation has come near. Then let them who are in Judea flee to the mountains, and let those who are inside the city depart. and let not those who are out in the country enter it. For these are the days of vengeance to fulfill. Isn't that what's happening?
Yeah,
Isn't that what's happening?
that's exactly what's happening. Listen, those people, this is the problem. This is why they teach these college morons to not ever study history.
That's
We
right.
don't want to hear it because history repeats itself. Now, that was written in the Bible thousands of years ago.
Right.
So, history repeats itself. These radicals, and it's not all Muslims, by the way, it's
That's right,
mostly
it's not.
the Shiites, the radical Shiites that are living in the 12th century. But radicalism, listen, you and I both know there have been more murders in this and precipitated by religion than for any other cause.
That's right.
The Crusades, 400 years, Christians and Muslims fighting. How many times have we seen wars because of ethnic cleansing, because of different religions and things like this? Religion is a great thing until you radicalize it. Because what happens with that is then it's like the Democratic Party. If you don't think their way, you're out of it now.
That's right.
That's it. If you're not a progressive, you don't have a right to speak. And radicalism in religion, radicalism in anything is no good. And the sad part about it is the minority of these religions are controlling the narrative now because they're being funded by people who want to have another agenda of globalism. The problem is that, listen, the majority of the Muslim world does not want to kill everybody else. That's not a Shiite. The Shiites kill the Sunnis. The Sunnis and the Shiites are always warring and encouraged just because of the differences in their interpretation of their own religion. But it's the Shiites mostly that are radicalized. Afghanistan, Iran, these people are living in the 11th and 12th century. Women can't drive cars, women have to cover themselves, women have no rights. There's no tolerance for any other group, whether they be gay or anything. And there's no tolerance for anything except their strict interpretation of the Quran. And the radicals are like that, just like the radical right Christian sects that went bananas. Look at these people that had communes and ended up. Look at Waco, Texas. They radicalize people. It's crazy. And then you look at our college campuses. And what's scary about it, these are the richest people in the country. These are the children. Well, granted, there are a few people that are on scholarships, but for the most part, this is generational wealth out there screaming like imbeciles because it costs $100,000 a year to go to Columbia. That's with expenses. I think the tuition's like 90 or 80. But all expenses at Columbia is $100,000 a year. I can tell you one thing, there's nobody from the Flint or the South End going to Columbia on their own dime. And this is the scary part. They're trying to just completely overthrow this country and turn it into chaos before the election. So everybody's going to forget, just like we started the show. I'm circling back, CJ, because I'm wrapping it up. I started by saying, let's place the blame exactly where it is, on Paul Coogan, the city council, and the school committee. They're the people who made it necessary to even talk about a 2.5 override. And the people who are causing this are Joe Biden and the Democrats, who are staying silent strictly because they want to get votes. And they're allowing the country to burn down around them. And with that, CJ, I'll turn it back to you.
Well, just so people know, I don't speak out of the other side of my face or out of my ass. Okay? Can you read that? The clear Quran. No, I'm not Muslim. But to understand where these people are coming from, you need to review, you need to learn about their religion. You need to learn about their way of life. This was sent to me. It was sent to me with information. It's an English translation, a thematic English translation by Dr. Mustafa Khattab. It's a wonderful thing to read. I mean, I've read some of it. I don't agree with a lot of it, but I've read it. You know, it's an interesting read, and it's something I would suggest people do. Read before you start jumping on it. But you know, when you're jumping on something, make sure you got an idea of what's happening. Like we jump on Paul, okay? He's lying to the people because remember, I'm going to say this again. Diamond is already being built. It is the Diamond School District that took out the loan to build the school, not the city of Fall River. It was the Diamond School District. And the way Diamond recovers that money from the cities and towns is they do an annual assessment, just like Bristol Aggie does. It's an annual assessment. And Paul already knows he can't afford the assessment because he spent too much money. But he's going to try to sell this that if you don't approve this, Diamond's not going to be built. We're not going to be able to afford Diamond. And it has nothing to do with Diamond. The Prop 2.5 override or the debt exclusion or whatever the hell he wants to call it is because Paul Coogan has spent too much money and refuses to cut his personal line of people that he hired. I have a need to request a listing of all the people hired under the Coogan administration and their salaries. I bet you if we add those up, we don't need to cut police and fire. I bet you a lot of them aren't even providing necessary services. That's what we need to do. We need to tighten our belts, cut where we need to cut, and make it work. We need to make sure that the people have their needs met, not their wants, not their pretty parks, not their pretty sidewalks. I mean, you have a business in Fall River in the South End that's making his business thrive because of what he's doing. He's prettying up the sidewalks on his own dime. That's what you call civic minded. That's what we need. We need civic minded people to turn around and say, I'm done. No more. And you need to vote no on any tax increase. Because remember, a Prop 2.5 override is not temporary, it's permanent.
And remember one thing, CJ, I'm glad you held up that Koran because what you have to do is, we said on our first show all those years ago, follow the money. But we also said, don't take anybody's word for anything. Educate yourself. Check
That's
it.
right.
You've read the Quran. I've read the Quran. I've also read books on Hinduism. There's also a very good interpretation of the Quran by a Sunni, one of their highest prophets. It's really, and I forgot his name, and I don't want to mispronounce it, but there's a few books by Sunnis. Some of the Shiites. They're different interpretations of the Quran. But listen, you can't discuss anything with any degree of ability without at least understanding a little bit of the prevailing side. You know, it's just like Buddhism. I've studied Buddhism exhaustively, but you know, the thing is that people just want to. What they do is you see these college kids just regurgitating what they've rehearsed without looking at something. And not, you've read the Quran, I've read the Quran. You know, there are a lot of really profound things in the Quran too.
Yes, there are.
There are. But obviously everything, as the Bible is, because you just look at Christianity with all the different religions we have within Christianity, Methodist and all the other Protestant religions and the Catholic religion and the various, Maronite. There are interpretations, and therein lies the problem, because when people radicalize it, but I get back to Buddhism. Just remember one thing: the first precept of Buddhism is to accept the fact that all life is suffering, and most people will never do that. And then the second precept is to understand why you have that suffering, and it's because of the ignorant cravings people have for power and money and greed. But someday, if you want to read something good, do a little bit of reading on all these things. It's good to educate yourself, because if you go back to The Art of War by Sun Tzu, he said it the best anybody's ever said it, thousands of years ago. It's still used by every military strategy place. Know yourself and know your enemy, and you're assured of victory in 100 battles. And with that, CJ, back to you.
And remember that same phrase when you deal with your politicians. Know your enemy. And your politicians are your enemies, even though you put them into office. I want to thank you all for watching, and remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. And don't vote for any tax increases. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on Friday.